So what you should see now is a PowerPoint that we'll just walk through. We'll be switching between this and Canvas. Again, thank you for coming. This is a training put on by the Office for Academic Innovation. My name is David Daniel, and I'll be helping you today. And we have Jamie here as well, who's going to be helping moderate and will be here for any questions that you may have. We are going to go ahead and record this, so you know. So if you need access to it later, we're happy to send you that recording. A couple of housekeeping notes. First is just a reminder to keep your microphone muted. Like we said, we're recording this, and so we'd like to make sure that we keep everything as succinct as possible. If you do have questions, as I'm sure you know, we ask that you go ahead and use the chat that's down at the bottom on your Zoom menu, where you can ask questions and Jamie will be able to answer those for you. Okay. Real quick, before we get started, we are going to send a couple of resource PDFs in the chat. So the first one is going to include everything that we are going over today. And we're going to include a second one as well, because we're going to briefly touch on a few points on how to set up your gradebook, but we won't have the same time to dedicate to really going through and showing you how to do that. So that resource is going to walk you more into the step-by-step of how to successfully set up your gradebook, just in case it isn't there yet. So now, before I really dive into it, we wanted to just remind you that the training outcome for today really is to help you prepare your gradebook for final grade submission to Howdy. And when we say that, we kind of mean two different things. So it's really important to have your gradebook prepared for two reasons. One is because we want to make sure that what students see in Canvas, that the grade that they see matches the final grade that they're going to see when grades are finally submitted to Howdy. And the second is just to make sure that it's prepared to submit to Howdy. There's a few things that Howdy looks for that you want to make sure are set up correctly so that you don't run into problems once you move over to Howdy and try to submit those. So we want to try to minimize all of that so it's a smooth experience for you. So this is our outline today. Like I mentioned, we'll briefly go over a few things to make sure that the gradebook is set up properly so you can finalize grades. We'll go over how to set up and change your grading scheme in case that's something that you need for your course. And then we'll go through a few steps on how to enter zeros. And there's a few different options for that. We'll walk through each one to make sure that you have the option to choose whichever one works best for your course. And then we'll go through what we call comparing and verifying the total column in Canvas with the unposted final grade column. And that step is just to really make sure that what you're submitting to Howdy ends up being what you want to submit. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and start here. You saw that I was just logged in, but you can always get to Canvas by coming here to lms.tamu.edu and clicking login. I'm already logged in, but it'll take you through Duo, which is everyone's best friend. And then you'll end up here on your home screen. And I'm going to go ahead and go into my practice course. All right, so like I mentioned, we're going to start off with showing you how to set up your gradebook properly, just briefly touch on it. And it might be a little counterintuitive, but to successfully set up your gradebook, you actually want to start here with assignments. So here I have a simplified version. So take whatever you see here and apply it to however is going to work in your course. But there's three things here in assignments that you want to look for if they're applicable in your course. The first is setting up your assignment groups. So these are the big kind of sections that I have here on the screen. I have them set up to be exams, quizzes, and assignments. So I split them up in kind of the category of what type of assignment they were. But if it works better for your course to set it up maybe on a weekly basis or a project basis, that's fine. Whatever is going to be best for your course. You just want to make sure that you have them set up in a way that makes sense for your grading needs and for the students so that they understand what's being graded. So like I said, the first one is assignment groups. The second one, if they're applicable, are right here is setting up the assignment group weights. So here I've decided that exams are going to be worth 50%, quizzes are going to be worth 25%, and then assignments are going to be worth that last 25%. And again, things might look a little bit different, but it's crucial to have the weights set up correctly before we go to finalize our grades so that everything gets calculated correctly. If you do need to change the weights, all you need to do is click on this 3 dots icon and click edit. And you're able to go in and see what the group name is and change this percentage of the total grade. So say I wanted to change things to 40%, I can click save and then adjust these other two to be 30%. So it's pretty simple, but like I mentioned, it is crucial to having everything calculate correctly at the end. So first two things was exam groups. The second one was the weights for those groups. And the last thing here in assignments that you want to look for are any group rules. And what I mean by that is I'm going to go in and click that 3 dots icon again, click edit. Those rules are right here in the middle where it says the number of scores to ignore for each student. So if an assignment group, if in an assignment group, you want to drop a lowest score or a highest score or multiple assignments or whatever works for you, that's where you're going to do it here. So in my case, I'm here in quizzes and I've decided to drop the lowest quiz score. You can change that, go up or down, or meet whatever you need to change it to whatever you need to meet the needs of your course, but you just click save. And then you're good to go. So once your assignment groups are set up, the weights are done, and you've set up any rules, if they apply to your course, then you're good to go. And your grade book, the bulk of your grade book is set up and ready to be finalized. So like I said, the bulk of the setup goes on up here in assignments. So now that we've finished that, we're going to move over to the grade book. And you do that by coming over to your course navigation pane, clicking grades. There are a couple options here that we do recommend setting up a couple of policies that we recommend setting up at the beginning of the course here in the grade book as well. And those are over here in the grid. When you click the gear, you have the option of selecting a missing policy where you can enter a grade if something's missing and it has a due date. The other option is to set up a deduction for late policies. You can set up how much you want to deduct on an interval and set the lowest possible score if that works for you. Again, we recommend that as being part of the gradebook setup, but if you haven't done that yet, you still have the opportunity to. It just might get a little bit messy. And so that's there. The second thing here in grades for the kind of the last thing for the setup is selecting a grade posting policy, whether you want it to be automatic or manual. So I've just chosen automatic. There might be a situation where it works better to do manual. But again, whatever is going to work for your course. Okay, so now that we've walked through some of the setup, there's one thing that's really crucial for finalizing grades that we're going to walk through, and that's setting up a grade scheme. And the reason that's so crucial is because Howdy only accepts a letter grade, and the grading scheme is how you tell Canvas that letter grade. And so to change the grading scheme, you want to come over here, click, we call it the hamburger icon, but you click on the icon, it opens up your course navigation, and you come down here to settings. And when you're here in settings, you have to scroll down a little bit, but then you'll see this checkbox and it says grading scheme. You want to make sure that that course grading scheme box is checked if it isn't. And when it's checked, it pulls up this option to view the grading scheme. And when you click that button, it pulls up this window. Right now, I've had it set to what is a typical grading scheme here at TAMU, where an A is 100 to a 90, a B is a 90 to 80, and so forth. You can change this. The first way is to just click select another grading scheme. This is where you have a couple of the default ones at Texas A&M. The first is that course letter grade. The second is if you're in a course where it just needs to be satisfactory, unsatisfactory, that's already preset for you, and you can just click use this grading scheme. However, if you need to adjust things even more, I'm going to go back to that window. Oh, I guess you do have to click use this grading scheme to get back. I was trying to get back to this screen. But if you need to do a little bit more hands-on adjustment, you can click here, down here at the bottom, click manage grading schemes. And this is where you can adjust things and really meet the needs of your course. So you can add a grading scheme and start from scratch, or here I already have one in partially set up, and you can just click here and click edit. And so say I'm a professor in my course and I want to have it round up. So an 89.5 is it rounds up to a 90, and that's going to be an A. You can go ahead and set that here just by changing and typing whatever you need. So you just click 89.5. You can change the name of it, but you really don't want to because that's the letter that's going to be sent. And just this is where you have the flexibility to meet whatever your course needs are. And you click save. And then if you do make adjustments, you do have to go back to settings, scroll down to the grading scheme and click view grading scheme. Now that once you make the adjustments or add a new grading scheme, you can come here to select another grading scheme and it'll be there. So I'm able to come in here now and click I named it new grading scheme. I can see it here in the left-hand side, and now I can use this grading scheme and set it. So for demonstration's sake, I'm going to keep the default one here so that everything's consistent with what is really common here at Texas A&M, but I'm going to click done. And like I said, that was really crucial to make sure that Howdy gets a letter grade. And you can make sure that the grading scheme got set up correctly by coming back here to grades. And if it's enabled and there's grades inputted, you should see that letter grade here in the total column. All right, so we've gone over gradebook setup, setting up the grade scheme. Now everything is really, we can get into the nitty gritty of making sure everything's nice for submitting to Howdy. And the most common thing that we see is the need to enter a grade for all assignments. And what I mean by that is there may be assignments that have these dashes. And we want to make sure that we enter a grade for those so that what the students see is accurate, and so that what the grade that's sent to Howdy is accurate. And like I mentioned, there's 3 different options to kind of enter the grades, and I'll walk through each one to help and kind of explain which is best for what kind of situation, depending on your course. So the first option is just manually entering grades here for every dash. This is really helpful if you have a small number of assignments or a smaller class and you want a little bit more control over what's happening. All you need to do is go to each dash and click on it. It opens up this text box and you can enter your grade and hit enter. And you can just repeat that for all of your assignments. That one's really simple, straightforward. Like I said, if you want a little bit more control, that's a great option. So there's 3 options. That was the first one. The second one is doing what's called setting a default grade. And this is where you can enter zeros for an entire assignment at once. And so to do that, you want to go first identify the assignment you want to apply this default grade to. You come over here to this 3 dots icon. And when you click on it, there's this option to set a default grade. And when you click on it, it pulls up this pop-up window and you can enter what grade you want to give out of that assignment. So if I'm assuming everything's missing, it's been missing for a while. So I'm going to give a default grade of a 0. That's all you need to enter into that box. If you're working with percentages right now, it's out of points. Canvas does all the conversions on its own. So you just need to enter how many points you want to give. The only caveat is you want to make sure that you don't override already entered grades. So you can see here in the background, there's an 87 for Paul that's already been graded. If we were to click that, what would happen is Canvas would set the 0 for all assignments. But if you don't click that, you're going to see right here, you just click set default grade. It tells you how many grades were updated, and then you can see they're updated right here, but it didn't overwrite that grade for Paul. So it entered 0s for everything else. So that's the second way. The first way was just entering 0s manually. The second way is doing that set default grade. But maybe you have a really large class, maybe you have a lot of assignments, and doing it manually or assignment by assignment won't be ideal. There is a third option. And that is using what's called the apply grade to ungraded assignments feature. And you can do this either by assignment group or on the whole grade book. So that's why it was so important to have your assignment group set up, is so that you can use some of these features and so everything's calculated correctly. So I'm going to show you both how to do it by assignment group and how to do it for the whole grade book. And I'm going to show you with the quiz assignment group right here. So I have 2 assignments in that assignment group. There's a column over here on the right that shows the percentage of that assignment group. And so to use this feature, you want to go to the assignment group column and click the 3 dots icon, and it has this option to apply score to ungraded. So when you click that, it's going to have this pop-up window where it asks what percentage you want to give for the missing assignment, for all of the ungraded assignments in this assignment group. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do 0. You want to make sure that you click apply to all ungraded artifacts. And that's it. That's all you have to do. And you click apply score. You can see up here at the top that you get a message saying that the request was sent. Eventually, you'll get the second message that says the scores have been processed successfully. And right now, it doesn't look like that. When you use this feature, all you have to do is click refresh after you see those 2 messages. And you'll see here that it entered 0s for all of the assignments in the quiz group. In this case, because I was dropping the lowest score, we got the different shading because it's indicating which score was dropped. So if you see some assignment colors change, it might just be because of the rules that you applied. So you're able to do that, like I said, at the assignment group level. I'm actually going to go ahead for demonstration purposes and show you that you can do it across all of your gradebook. And so I'm going to get rid of some of the grades here in different assignment groups. All right. So maybe you have a really big class, you have lots of assignments, and you just want to take care of everything in one go. To do that, you come over here to the total column instead of an assignment group. And when you click that 3 dots icon, you can see you also have that feature option right here. And so you walk through the same steps, you click it, we enter 0, we want to apply it to all ungraded artifacts, and we hit apply score. The request was sent, and then this is going to take a little bit longer to actually process because there's more grades. But there we go. We see the second notification, and when we refresh the page, you can see it applied 0s to all of my assignments. It didn't matter on the assignment group. It went ahead and applied it to all of the assignments. So again, part of the reason we want to do this is so that the grade is as accurate as possible for what we're going to send over to Howdy, but also it's as accurate as possible to what the students see. One thing we want to mention that's really important as well is you want to make sure that all of your grades are posted. So again, for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and hide grades so you can see what this looks like. It's taking a second. So for any grades that aren't posted, so maybe you decided to manually post your grades or to hide them after you were doing some grading, whatever the situation was, you're going to have this icon where it looks like an I crossed out. That means that the assignment grades are currently hidden to the students. And you're going to want to go in again to that assignment column, click the 3 dots icon and post grades just like that so that students see an accurate score. Because what happens is when grades are hidden, you might see a different score than they're seeing. But if you post all the grades now that we're at the end of the semester, all of the grades that they see once they're posted will be accurate. Everything will be calculated correctly. And you'll know that what the student is seeing and what you're seeing is the same thing. So once you've entered a grade for all of your assignments and you've posted all your grades, you're going to want to come over here to the total column. And if you've done everything correctly, you have set up your assignment, your gradebook correctly, you've entered zeros, you've posted grades, this total column should be as accurate as possible. It should be what you're seeing, it should be what the students are seeing, and it should be what's submitted to Howdy. In this case, this wasn't a fabulous example, but there's so many zeros that everyone has gotten Fs, and that's what's going to be sent to Howdy. Obviously, that's probably not what's going to happen in your courses. You should see the A's, B's, C's, and D's based off of your grading scheme and what grades the student earned. So again, if you've done everything correctly, this should be accurate. We do highly recommend doing one more step, and that's verifying the unposted column grade. And so we're going to walk through how to do that. So to verify that column, you actually have to export the gradebook. And to do that, you click Actions and click Export. It'll tell you that it's exported, and depending on your browser, wherever those downloads pop up, you should see it. I'm going to go ahead and open it. And it popped up on my second screen. So give me a second while I pull it over. Great. So this is what your gradebook looks like when it's exported. It's exported as a CSV. You should be able to see all of the assignment titles, the students, and the points they earned. But there's a couple columns here at the end, again, that we highly recommend that you just check. The first is this unposted final grade column. So this is the column that is sent over to Howdy. And if you've done everything correctly, that column total should match, or that total column should match this unposted final grade column. If it doesn't, then you're going to want to go back and walk through some of those same steps again to make sure that this column and the total column match up so that you know that the assignments or that the grade you're submitting to Howdy is the same as the one that is displaying in Canvas. One other one that we recommend just taking a peek at if you do this is this current grade. So this current grade is what the students see. So if maybe one of we've seen it in the past where maybe the current grade says A, but the unposted final says C. And so when the students when the grades are submitted to Howdy and the student takes a look at it, the C was what was submitted, but the A is what they saw. And it creates some confusion. And so that's why we really recommend entering grades for all of the assignments and posting all of those grades so that when you come in here and take a look, everything matches. So once this unposted final grade, once it looks right, then you're all set. We can't show it here for FERPA reasons, but this is where you would head over to Howdy and go ahead and walk through that process to get your final grade submitted. All right, so you guys have been great so far. We're going to walk through one thing. I'm going to go ahead and not save it in this case, but we recognize we've gone through a lot of stuff, but we recognize that there may be situations where your course just has some weird things going on. And so we want to point out one last option in case it's applicable, and that's using the override column. If you come over here to the gear icon and go to the advanced settings, you have this option to allow the final grade override. And when you click that and hit apply settings, it's going to create this extra column. So I've done this in the past, and that's why you're seeing some letter grades here. But when you enable this setting, you're able to go back in and export your gradebook to that Excel file, and there will be an extra column where you can write whatever letter grade you want. And when you use that column, it's going to be the one that overrides everything else. And it's the one that's going to get sent over to Howdy. Again, we're not going to go into a whole lot of depth. We just want to make you aware of it. If you do decide to use this column, we recommend reaching out to us, making sure that everything is getting set up properly, it's being done correctly, just so that we know that everything that's sent to Howdy is what you as the instructor wants. All right, so that's it. Thank you everyone for coming today. We did want to just point out a couple of things. Right after this at 11 o'clock, we do have our office hours where we can help you with more in-depth course design or questions about grade submission. Feel free to join that. We are offering, you can see that on our training support page. We're offering it a lot for the next couple of weeks. We also have our YouTube channel where there's some videos that have tutorials that walk through these processes step by step. We always have our website, our lms.tamu.edu, where you can get some step-by-step walkthroughs, trainings, and other resources. And last but not least, we have our training and support page where you can check out our brand new enhanced options as well as any future training opportunities. So that's it for today. If you do have any questions, we have 3 more minutes that we're happy to help you with. And if you have more questions, you're welcome to hop into office hours. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And if you have questions, feel free to ask.